Okay, so we're gonna be talking about squats. Couple things that we're looking for in a squat. One, the foot position. We're looking for 3 points of contact, which would be the big toe, pinky toe, and then the heel. During the squat, we want most of the pressure to be in the heel. Let's just call it 60% in the heel, 40% in the ball of the foot, which would be in the toes. So think like a tripod position, okay? We want, for the most part, most of our students have issues with hinging and posterior chain engagement, especially in the glute and in the hamstring. So for the purposes of this particular squat, we're gonna look for a much more vertical shin as opposed to a lean forward shin. In doing that, we're gonna activate these muscles here. Now moving up from there, we want the knees to track the toes. So in the positioning, we want the knees to track over the pinky toe in this position as opposed to here. When the knees track in, what happens is the foot will pronate, you'll lose contact with the ground on the lateral side, and that will basically create a valgus position, which is a very weak position. Not a lot of tension gets created. So the more tension there is in the body, the stronger the student will be, the more weight they can push, the more they're challenging their posture, the stronger the posture will become, which will increase core strength, okay? Moving up from there, the hips are what actually initiates the squat. So if we're looking at our spinal mechanics, in the natural position when you're standing, there should be a natural curvature, meaning cervical spine goes inward, T-spine goes outward, lumbar curvature goes inward. So in the lumbar here, if I tilt, I should have that same spinal mechanics posture-wise when I'm standing than when I tilt. So to show you a contrast, if I only move my lumbar, it would look like that. If I flexed or extended at the T-spine, it would look like that. So we want everything to move in one piece. So the hips would go back, and then we would start the squat from there. Aside from that, if you were doing a normal air squat, we would ask the student for their hands to be above their head, so that would keep the T-spine in a good neutral position. So if they're here, they'd be squatting in this position so that the T-spine has good extension. Otherwise, what would happen is they would fold and the spine would collapse. Now, this looks good and sounds good in theory, so it would look something like this. From this position, the hip crease would go just below the knee, and then we would stand to full extension, like so. Now, with students who have neurological issues, postural weakness, core strength weakness, and just weakness all around in terms of leg strength, we're gonna need to modify things a little bit in order for them to be able to produce the movement. So we're gonna talk a little bit about a leverage squat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold on to something. So if you don't have rings, but you have a teacher or somebody to help you, I just want you to imagine that these rings represent my hands. So if I was the assistant here, I might be holding the student in this position. And this is gonna help displace some of their own body weight. So in this position, when they scoot back, they can hold on and they can they can use their upper body strength to help them stand up. So notice that I'm sitting back and my shin is pretty vertical in this position, and then I can rock myself up, and this will reduce some of the resistance needed to produce the squat. As we progress more and more, we can remove some of that and produce a better squat with less assistance. So I can hold on with two hands on one ring, or I can hold with just one hand and start to balance and use my other arm to be up in the air. And then once I reduce that resistance, notice that I'm not breaking parallel. My hips are not going below my knees because I'm sitting to a box. The only thing you have to be careful with here is that your student does not rock back and disengage on the box. We want them to stay engaged, so we just want them to kiss the box, touch, and stand, okay? As they get better and better and stronger, you can reduce the height to make the squat a little bit more challenging. You want to gradually do that. I just took 6 inches off there. You may want to go like 1 inch at a time and try to find where they are challenged. Where are they starting to lose position? Is it here? And you might have to spend time there for several weeks, several months, kind of building the strength in that position before you go all the way down. So one way to do that is to play around with the range of motion, play around with the amount of resistance or assistance that you apply to the squat. And then the least amount of range of motion that you apply to it, or how you displace their weight, will allow them to work on the mechanics of the movement. So you can spend more time working on the knee position outward if they're higher, as opposed to if they're very low and being more challenged. As they gain more strength, then you can challenge the depth of the squat. So hope you like the tips, and thank you for watching.